And
it's not.
No. So we're recording now. I'll edit that bit out.
Excellent.
The joy of editing. And I was sort of dashing to get my overnight oats down my neck, and I'd put some blueberries in them and munch, munch, munch while I'm feeding the dogs.
Yeah.
Managed to spill some on the lower part of my jumper, so we'll just
We can't see that. It's fine.
No, we won't inflict that on anybody. Blueberry stain, but it'll be going in the wash as soon as we're finished.
No, cheers. Cup of tea.
Cheers, I've got tea.
I have my rude mug. I'll just cover my rudeness in case, you know, it offends.
I like that one. I've got one that my friend Jackie brought me, and it's if I'm a sitting, I'm a knitting, and a picture with a knitting shape on it, and I absolutely love it. But for some reason, my 19-year-old son takes that mug first out of the cupboard. We've got hundreds of mugs. There are probably 50 in his room at the moment in various stages of festering.
Yeah. Growing penicillin and stuff.
Yeah, and I'll put a hazmat suit on and going. Bring a load of them out in a big plastic box.
Yeah. A biohazard bag.
Yeah, mask over my face. Yeah. A bit bad, isn't it?
Yeah, teenagers.
So should we quickly tell everybody who we are?
Go on then, you go first.
Well, I'm Loraine Birchall. I'm a part-time knitwear designer, and I own Woolly Madly Deeply, if you've seen that on the net. I chose the name from the Alan Rickman and Juliet Stevenson film Truly Madly Deeply, which I absolutely love. And if you haven't seen it and you've got teenage daughters or granddaughters, then grab the tissues and please watch it because it's lovely.
It's one of my favourites. Great film. I'm Emma from Emma Sadler Designs. Originally, I did call myself All Needles Great and Small, because I live in North Yorkshire, a bit like All Creatures Great and Small, but I found it was a little bit too out there, so I changed it. Part-time knitwear designer as well, part-time attendance officer at a college, which is an interesting job. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it keeps you out of trouble while you're keeping everybody else out of trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it involves a lot of frustration. Same day, you know, over and over. A bit like Groundhog Day. Same students, same issues. Yeah, but yeah, like you say, it keeps me out of trouble.
Well, I think we have to remember as well that not everybody is lucky to have the lives that we have. Some of them have quite chaotic home backgrounds and don't have the organisation skills and just, you know, basic things like knowing to put something in your diary or on your phone or set an alarm. It never occurs to them.
No. And then they, you know, they do the same. My dog's gone mad because there's someone at the door. How are your editing skills, Loraine? 2 seconds.
All right.
Oh, Loraine, that's just typical.
What's that?
Oh, I don't know if you can see this. This is obviously Valentine's Day. Hang on, shall I open it? Do you want to see what I've got for Valentine's Day?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have got what I got last year, which is no card.
Right.
And an email at 5 to midnight with, oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, look, happy Valentine's from my husband. Aww. No, Arthur, you can't eat that. Let's have a look. It says it contains live plants or flowers.
Well, as long as they're not triffids, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh God, you know, I read that book as a teenager. Scared me silly. It really did.
Did you watch the BBC version?
No,
You're probably a bit young for that.
I just read the book. I am a bit of a bookworm. I will read anything, but no, that scared me. Right, let's have a look. Oh, bless him. Right, I have. Oh gosh, I can't even get it out. I have. I don't know. These maybe crocuses. You can't eat them. They look maybe
tulips.
Tulips. They're beautiful. I think they've got water in them. You can't eat those. And I think there's something else here. Oh my goodness. As if he doesn't know me. I don't know if you can see that label. It says Prosecco lovers. I think my husband knows me well. Oh yeah. That's quite a nice way of wrapping something up, isn't it?
Well, then it isn't obviously a bottle either.
Ooh.
Ooh. Chocolate.
How nice is that? Chocolates, which I won't be able to eat, but you know, it's the thought that counts.
Well, the kids will enjoy them.
The kids will enjoy them. Yeah, so there we go. Happy Valentine's Day. Spoiled
Happy
lady.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Wow.
I've just got
I would share with you if I could.
Oh, well, we'll do that one then.
Yeah. I'll save it and I'll bring it with me when we go to
when we do Woolfest, yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
I was chatting to Helen the other day and she's going to be bringing her latest shawl project. It's by lor-artemis. And she's
I look forward to seeing that.
Stunning looking yarn. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited to see that. It's a creamy background and then it's sort of variegated and speckle.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
And it looks like sort of soft, warm, muted. It looks like it's got blues and burgundies and whatnot in it. It's quite hard to tell from the photograph, but the way it's knitting up, I love the way the variegation is playing with that particular pattern.
Cool. Oh, well, I look forward to seeing that. So what have you got on the go at the minute?
Well, I've had a bit of a busy week with cowls. I've been
Oh, here we go. Well, what's the correct noun for cowls?
I don't know, but my son said that I should call this cowlabunga, but I'm pretty sure anybody will have used that name. So this is the super bulky one and kind of scrunches down. Do you want me to model?
Yeah, that's fab. Let's see it on. Come on.
So bearing in mind I haven't woven in any ends, and it's the lacy pattern just makes it sort of ridge down, and it's ribbed at the back, which allows it to fold over a bit more, so it doesn't feel like you've got a neck brace on.
Yeah,
but I'm going to make
fab.
A 72-inch version of this using super bulky. I might take out one of the repeats of the lace. I'm not sure yet because I want that to be able to loop round a couple of times and be really oversized.
Perfect for this weekend's weather, that one.
Yeah, I mean that was made in a day easily. In fact, it took me longer to do the provisional cast on than it did to do the first sort of 6 inches of knitting.
Yeah, it's always the way.
Working with kind of broomstick needles, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, I was trying to teach a friend the provisional cast on at the weekend, and she's quite new to knitting, and she definitely struggled. Bless her. It's not easy. Lay down.
So then I did the same thing. This is in some. It's actually Stylecraft Life Chunky, but I can imagine Malabrigo Chunky or something like that would be absolutely fantastic for it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Luscious Madeline Tot.
Oh, lovely.
Or even Rowan do big wool and things like that, don't they? So it's just got ends all over the place, but
just hide them, nobody will notice.
the same lacy pattern. I've actually worn it several times with the ends
Just tuck them in.
yarn tucked in with my big coat. This one I think is 54 inches, and which is a bit of an odd length to stop at on a looped cowl, but it was purely because I love this olive yarn. It's a discontinued colour, and I only had a yard left.
But it looks lovely and stretchy as well, though.
It is super stretchy, and it doesn't feel like you've got a neck collar or anything like that looped twice. It's really quite comfortable. I think with another ball of yarn, it would have been absolutely stunning and beautiful.
Yeah.
Again, that was
lovely colour.
Couple of evenings.
Yeah, cool.
This was the original one.
Yeah. Now I love the colour of that.
Yeah, it's kind of a bluey green. It's soft and muted, and you can probably see the lace pattern a little bit better on that one. And then sort of the ribbed pattern. So with the other two, I've just done the lace pattern all the way around, but with this one, I got halfway, 33 inches in. This is 66 inches.
That's definitely a cowl.
Yeah, so twice looped round is just sort of nice and comfortable for an accessory.
Yeah,
it's been,
and when it's a bit warmer as well, you just want to wear something.
Yeah, but the way it's been here this last week with the storms, 3 times round. It's Lana Stop Dulce Cashmere. Lana Stop sadly are no longer in existence, so you can't get the yarn anymore. But it's a merino and cashmere blend. And it's just so bouncy and springy and lovely, and
it looks lovely.
Even Jake will sort of pet this one because it passes the man softness test, which, as you know, is beyond
very important
level.
test. Yes, definitely. Wow.
You want to
so you've been cowling?
Sorry?
You've been cowling away.
I have been cowling, yeah. It's felt like I've not done anything else. I have another one on the needles, which is, I think, in the car. That's my college run, dropping off and picking up knitting.
Yes.
Saying, oh, come 20 minutes early because we're going to finish because we've got a test, and then being 10 minutes late. So half an hour. So I know now to have knitting on the dashboard.
Always have knitting with you, because you never know.
Absolutely. That one is some, it's a denimy blue. I think the colour is called Memphis, and it's Stylecraft Genie, and it feels like suede. It must be some sort of brushed recycled cotton, but that's incredibly soft, and I'm going to do that probably 66 inches, I think.
Right, okay. Lovely. I can't wait to see that one.
So do you want to show us some stuff, and then I'll do my sweaters and whatnot later?
Right, well, I've got my my lovely Kelly Connor bag, my knits out bag, with lots of bits and pieces in. So I've been thinking about this year going back over my old patterns that I first did, and revamping them, making them a bit better. So the first one is my Ritorto ribbed headband.
Yeah.
So that's in a thin chunky at the moment. So I've decided to go with a bigger chunky, and I actually used the wool that I won when we went to Yarndale.
Oh yeah.
Remember that special ball of wool that I won on the spin the wheel of fortune or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this is the super chunky one on 10 millimeters. This was with the twisty bit at the front. Should I put it on? Look how gorgeous is that.
Love that.
Yeah. And then this was just the same but in a thinner. This one had a few more stitches, so it's just wider. You just see the difference on those. And then I'm making a DK version. That one's still on the needles at the moment, so I've done my twist. Maybe a couple more centimeters to go on that one. That's in Bellissima which I absolutely love bellissima. And the only other thing I've got to show you is my cardigan that I'm going to steek. Scary stuff. So started from the bottom, and it's all odd colours because I'm just doing odd balls of rowan tweed that I've got hanging around while I work out what I want to do with it, and then I'll re-knit it in something that actually matches. So we've got the bottom, and I've put it onto different holders for what's going to be the fronts and the underarms and the back and everything. So that's where we've got to with that. And then I'm going to use a couple of balls of this colour, which I'm just about to cast on the sleeves for. So I'll knit the sleeves in the round and then knit across the sleeves and this together, and then do the yoke.
Yeah.
Cut it, steek it. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week.
Is it going to be a colour work yoke, or is it going to be cables, or?
Well, at the moment, I'm just going to do it completely plain, just to work out exactly how it's all going to work out, and you know, measurements and depth and
Just
all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then possibly I might do a bit of lace work on the next version of it.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Yet, yeah. So yeah, that's my productivity for the week.
Well, I was looking at some yarn for a customer the other day, and doing that, found this. One of my infamously many sweater projects. Let me just say, for transparency, that sleeves are my nemesis.
Yes.
So we've got the crew neck, and the body's all done, and it's got extra hip shaping for, you know, wider lower body. It's got probably a deeper rib band than I would generally go for. But this has been languishing for at least 2 years. I have actually started working the sleeve, and I'm a few inches into the first sleeve.
You will not be defeated by the sleeves.
Yeah, I am going to win. I mean, generally, I like working top down because the opportunity to finesse your fit. And if you're like I am, and there's a bit more of you than you perhaps would like,
yes,
and you woke up one morning in your 40s or 50s and someone moved it all, you know, bits that were up here and perky are suddenly lowering.
Gravity.
And
So rude.
You've got a stomach that you never had before, or perhaps a bit more of a bum. I've always carried my weight on my hips, so I've always had to adjust for that, and I'm used to that, and I'm quite happy with it. But top down is really great for that. But I must admit, I love the structure and the stability of seams on a sweater. And I don't think you can beat it if you're working bottom up and you've got the opportunity then to finesse so much of it. And people say, oh, you can't try it on. Yes, you can.
You can, yeah.
Of course you can. Because you can quickly tack the sleeve seam and see whether it's comfortable at your underarm or whatever else, and tack that to the body if you've got to the underarms there, and do a quick try on round. And it's just the same process as it would be for trying on a top down sweater.
Yeah.
But the difference is that where you've got those seams, the work doesn't spiral or twist while you're wearing it.
That's true.
That said,
yes.
Like that one. I do like my top down sweaters. That particular one is called Eased with a D on the end, and it's the Alicia Plummer. It's the bulky version, and I've made 4 of Ease, which is the worsted Aran weight version. I've done 2 in Starcraft Special Blackberry. See Blackberry? Yeah. It's a very deep, rich purple, and then every now and then there's just little flecks of this gleaming cerise, and if you photograph it at the right angle, it's almost jewel-like. It's absolutely lovely.
That sounds lovely.
And I made my first one and then forgot that it was in the washing machine waiting for some of the delicates, shoved some jeans in and now it fits Barbie. with big
Oh.
hips, big hip Barbie. It would fit.
Did you cry?
No, I just okay.
Oh,
What can I do? It ended up being a dog blanket for such a long time.
yeah.
That you loved it. They would roll it up, make a pillow of it.
Oh.
So I knitted another one in the blackberry again because I love the colour, and then I've made one in denim blue and one in a sort of tweedy, creamy Aran with sort of flecks of brown and green and whatnot in it, just for a little bit of interest.
That sounds lovely.
And I love Isabel Kramer's sweaters. A lot of hers are top down.
I like a top-down sweater.
Well, when you're done, there's very little else to do other than weaving in ends and a little bit under the arm.
I am a lazy knitter. I'm not so keen on, you know, the seaming and all the rest of it. And I much rather just sit with my needles and knit in the round and just knit and knit and knit and knit and knit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it brought it home to me how much I hate fiddly finishing when a few weeks ago I was knitting a cardigan, and you know Baby Archie's square hat with the pom-poms.
Yeah.
That little set, and there was a free download of a pattern. Right, fine, great, I'll knit that cardigan. And I just started knitting and thought, oh, bottom up seamed, fine. It's a cardigan, how hard can it be?
Yeah.
And it wasn't hard, it was faffy. Because what they'd done is they started off and it was in pieces, and then you started a raglan. But then you got to there, and then you had to do shaping that curved up on the front and curved up on the back. And you didn't do any of that on the sleeve, which to me was going to give a very curious line. And then you had to pick up a yoke and then do a yoke. And I thought, well, either be a yoked cardigan or be a raglan cardigan, but please don't give me anything that's both, because it was really hard to neatly pick up those cast off edges on these sort of shaped bits on the front. I mean, the finished cardigan looks fine, but I will confess, because I know that none of you will tell anybody, but I actually duplicate stitched over where the join is, because some of my pickup stitches were just not neat enough, and it was driving me mad. And I thought, they're right across the front, and they're so noticeable because it's a plain grey cardigan. So I wouldn't knit that again.
Right.
It was
not a ringing endorsement for that pattern then.
I would just knit a standard raglan baby cardigan, seamed or not.
Yeah.
A little hat to go with it, because it's just a folded rectangle, let's be honest. We're not talking about anything that's hard here, and you could work it in the round and do a 3 needle bind off or cast off at the top. It's not rocket science. You could start with any old baby beanie pattern and just knit straight and not do the crown shaping, you know, and you've got that hat, haven't you? It's not hard.
And you don't even have to make pom-poms these days, you can buy them.
Well, yes, you can. I didn't, and I probably should have done, because what I found is I do not enjoy making pom-poms.
Yeah.
I'm sure lots of people do, but not me. I started...
Is this another sweater without sleeves?
Well, yeah, but I have started the sleeve. I started this sweater 5th or 6th of January last year.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you the front, and I'm not sure if you can you see the sort of purple pooling at the top?
Yeah, I actually really like it.
I like it, but I was doing, as you do, this is a Malabrigo Rios, and the colour is Archangel for anyone that's curious.
Gorgeous.
It actually tells you to stripe it in 2 rows from one skein or ball, and 2 from another, and back again, so that you don't get as much of the pooling. But for some reason I've got this little purpling at the top, but it's not on my bosoms, it's not pointing or painting a target on my tummy, so I've decided to live with it. And I have actually picked up the first sleeve. I'm on the first round of the sleeve.
That's going to be great when it's done.
I had literally just done to about here.
Yeah.
and then put it to one side because I couldn't bear it, and I was freaking out about it. It is an expensive yarn, and I was a little bit intimidated by, if I get this wrong, how bad is it going to be? Am I really going to hate it? And rip it out. And don't get me wrong, it's a joyous yarn to knit with, so it's not actually that bad. You know, you rip it out and you just knit it again and it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's good quality, isn't it?
Yeah, but this sweater is Daelyn, Daelyn, by Isabel Kramer, and you'll see here that when you cast on under the arm, the stitches that you cast on go to the back, and they're in garter, and then you're increasing the garter section every so many rows and decreasing the stockinette section, so that you get this sort of point down at the bottom. This is all pre-blocking. I did debate about whether I'd have to do some extra shaping, and I got about 6 inches from the underarm, and I thought, oh, maybe I need to do the A-line version, and I started increasing, and I thought, I need to try this on. So I put it all on a thread and tried it on, and it was flapping around in my back. All this extra, and I thought, ripped it right back to the underarms and started again. And all that's been done this year now, so I'm hoping to sort of rock on and finish it. And
so you don't feel like you need to just buy a lot of long sleeve t-shirts and just wear jumpers without sleeves?
Do you know, that would probably be a lot easier, and given that I am of a certain age, where one moment I'm perfectly comfortable and the next I feel like I've been boiled in oil.
And I want the windows.
And I want to take everything off, and that's why I've got this top on today. It does have a turtleneck, but it's also exceptionally thin, and compared to the Mahusive jumper that I had on for doing the college run and a quick bit of shopping this morning, then you know, it's not easier.
Layers are definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and I have got another show and tell.
Oh, look at this.
So before I lift this up, this is from a pattern by Sandra Paul, Painted Roses. This is the third blanket of these that I've made now. I made one for my niece Shana, who's actually due a baby any second now.
Okay.
She's having a little boy, that's her first child. And I made it for her for their wedding as a not too subtle hint. You know, get on with it if you're gonna do it.
You're gonna have a baby blanket,
Started the message, and eventually she took the hint, and they're now having one. One of my other nieces, Sally, was having a little boy last year and saw Shana's blanket, so then I got I want that blanket, I want the exact same colours, and so I made that for Joshua. Her younger sister Becky yesterday produced a little girl who's Isabel Grace. So this
that's a beautiful
Grace
name.
now. The others were in creams. There was Starcraft Special DK in the meadow green, and I had a range of other yarns kicking around. There's some Red Heart Lease there. Some of it was Special DK. There was the odd bit of Aran that were about the right colours. In Special DK, I used yellow, a peachy colour, and then pomegranate, and then the meadow, and that will make more sense when I sort of show you.
It's beautiful.
But Becky's request was blues and purples, and she doesn't like teals. I can't believe she doesn't like teal. I mean,
that's unusual. Most people do like a teal.
Odd is that? So I've got a little bit of this round to do with this lighter purple. Then I'm going to go to this. You see that it's sort of a textured purple, and then it goes to the darker one.
Nice.
I'm going to repeat that, and then I'll have enough stitches to do the border, which is sort of a scallop flower.
Right.
Lift that up. Can you see that better?
Oh, it's stunning. Put all the work in that.
I know. It's this bit that I'm dreading.
That there's plenty of work still to go into there.
Yeah, none of us saw that, did we?
No, we didn't see that. No. Just turn it over. Just get a piece of big piece of material like cotton and back it, and you won't have to worry about the ends.
Yeah, but I have to say, it's a very enjoyable blanket to crochet.
Yeah, it looks
Really,
lovely.
it's really well written pattern. All the elements are charted and written, and I do like the charts. I'm a very
I like
visual
charts.
person. I tend to fall over on written patterns where you've got to really long lines of do this and 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 this, and then I forgot which row I'm on. And
Yeah.
but with a chart, I can see it and visually read my crochet.
Yeah.
Same thing with my knitting and colour work. And when I'm doing colour work, worked flat, a lot of people will purl the round back. Now, I love purling. I prefer purling to knitting. I'm actually faster.
I'm not a fan.
I knit backwards.
See, I don't know how you do that.
I'm a little bit slower at it, but I find that my tension is perfect and I don't get any of that puckering or anything like that if I knit backwards.
Okay.
And next time we get together, I'll show you a piece of knitting from a little tea cozy where I've actually done that.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit awkward at first, but soon you get into it. And when you see the difference, people talk about colour dominance, and I'm going to be really controversial here. They talk of all the reasons of why you get colour dominance, and the only reason that you get colour dominance in stranded colour work knitting is because some of your stitches have more yarn in them than others.
All right, okay.
It's not about whether the float is up or down or anything else. All that does is twist the stitch or pull it in a particular direction.
Right.
My personal opinion, and feel free to hate me for it, and that's fine, but I'm right.
Okay.
It's a tension issue. It's a lack of tension on the yarn. There would not be more yarn in the stitch if you were not working that stitch more loosely than the ones around it. And when you knit that way and then knit backwards, you have the opportunity to pull all of the stitches to exactly the same tension. And what I'm hoping is that doing that repeatedly with flat pieces and other bits of knitting that I'm doing is that will then help me when I return to working in the round.
Yeah.
Continually check my tension or my gauge if you're on the other side of the pond, so that every stitch has the same amount of yarn.
See, that's like a huge revelation, that.
Well, and Anna and Carlos, I don't know if you watch their videos, they say exactly the same thing. They say there's no such thing as yarn dominance in Norwegian knitting. There's just there's poor tension and good tension.
Right.
And yarn dominance isn't a thing to them. And it's caused all sorts of arguments all over the internet where people, oh yes, there's, I'm sorry, it's not. You've got more yarn in some stitches than others. That's nothing to do with dominance. Dominance is the result of the poor tension. It's not the cause.
Because when I first started doing colour work, it was always, you must make sure that you keep the same colour on the top, because if you're swapping it around, it's all going to be messy, and you know your dominance is going to be messed up and everything. But first time ever at Christmas time, when I did that little Windsor vest by Jessie McTrickett, and I did that in the round, and the tension was sorted out and it was lovely. So I see what you're saying. I think it's right.
Yeah, I think it is just a matter of tension. And what I'll also do as well if I'm doing a yoke sweater or something is I'm a thrower. I can pick.
Yeah, I'm a thrower.
And have the yarn in my left hand, and I can do that.
I have them both in my right hand, just separated by fingers.
But I get issues with my tension.
Right.
I either pull it too tight or it's too loose, and then you end up with the yarn dominance thing, which is tension again. But what I've found is that as a thrower, I work quickly that way because I've always done it that way. I'm knocking on. I've been doing this since I was 4, and I'm 52 next month. So, so I've been knitting a long time, and I'm a lot faster doing that. But I will drop one yarn and pick up the other, and one drops and the other goes over the top of it, and that's how I do it, and I keep that tension. And I think if you're constantly going on, that you can do what's called a rotation thing, where you go over with one and under with the other, and so on. And sometimes you can end up with twisted stitches, but again, I think you end up with twisted stitches because you're tensioning and you're pulling them tighter.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to pull the yarn into a place it doesn't naturally want to go. So I think just stick with what works for you, and if you get lovely even colour work with it, then marvellous. You know, you've got the tension absolutely nailed.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right.
Would you like to see a cardigan that's got sleeves?
Yes. Some finished sleeves. Yay.
Showing off now. Version of my cowl, didn't I? So
that's gorgeous.
Joined with a 3-needle bind off or cast off, and it does look quite neat. So you could do that as a decorative thing on the outside of the work if you wanted, and it does look quite good on the chunky and super chunky versions, just as a decorative feature. Yeah, I love the name of this. It's called Dirty Martini.
Oh.
The yarn might be Malabrigo Rios again. Not all my yarn is Malabrigo Rios, has to be said. 80% of my stash has got lots of acrylics and all manner of other stuff, because I've got all sorts of ridiculous allergies. And despite everyone saying no one's allergic to alpaca, I'm allergic to alpaca.
Oh, useful then.
I can cope with 30 to 50% of it in a mix.
No more.
I'm not letting it, but anything more than that, and I will be coughing and spluttering. But here we are. This is a colour called Diana.
Love it.
Autumnal colours, and you'll see the sort of more obvious striping in some areas than others. Again, there's a really pretty slip stitch pattern on the lower body.
I like that.
Very, very simple garter band.
I like a garter band.
The front of the cardigan has this band with lots of short rows, which is a lovely idea. I really like that, and I use them a little bit more to make the collar slightly deeper, because I like the feel of it around my neck. And I added a few more short rows on just to give a bit more hip coverage.
Yeah.
And I used about 6.5 skeins or balls or whatever you want to call it of the Malabrigo Rios.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's been through the machine.
Excellent.
Just on a delicate wash. But this was another one where I made it last year, and I may have sat on it until January this year, because the skeins that I used for the sleeves,
you
can see it more now, are very different to those on the body.
Yeah, but I like it.
Yeah, I love it, don't get me wrong, and everyone that's seen it has gone, oh my god, that's beautiful. And nobody points and goes, oh, it's really different on the sleeves. I can see it. But what had happened with the batch of 10 balls or skeins that I got, on the skein themselves, they all kind of look the same, but it's only when you actually ball them up ready to start knitting or put them into a cake that you start to see the differences. And this one had a lot more of this very dark green, almost charcoaly colour in it, which makes more stripes. And it's also got more of this, it's almost a pale teal colour.
It looks kind of grey on my computer.
Yeah.
It's lovely
though. So I obsessed over it over about 12 months and put it away and didn't want to look at it and was procrastinating. Am I ever going to finish it? And then eventually sort of plucked up courage this year, and I did have a lot of chat with people in our after party group on Ravelry, and I'm glad I did. And because it's superwash yarn, I only knitted the sleeves to around about 15 inches. And generally, I would want a 17-inch sleeve.
Right.
But when you wet block it after washing, oh, it grows. So I made it a size smaller than I am as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it fits perfectly.
Yeah, it fits perfectly. And you know, if you make it, it's one of those experimental things with superwash where you need to, sleeves are a great large swatch to see how it behaves in a bigger piece, and sometimes it's worth knitting a sleeve to the armhole and putting it on a thread and wet blocking or washing it to see how much it's going to grow widthways and lengthways before you do anything else.
Yeah.
Because it's got weight and heft to it in the way that the other large pieces of the garment are. And usually the sleeve, depending on this, whether it's a plus or a standard size garment, will be a good way towards the width of the back at the underarm.
Yeah, there's a lot of knitting in a sleeve.
Yeah, so you've got a decent size swatch there. You can see how it's really going to behave. And very often you think something's going to grow lengthways and it grows widthways. So it's if you're working bottom up, then it's worth doing it. And I have seen quite a few people who've been working with Rios and other superwash yarns and knit picks like Wool of the Andes superwash and things like that, where they'll do the sleeve to the underarm and then put it on the thread and then work top down to the underarm and then graft.
And then graft it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good tip.
Yeah. I don't know that my grafting is neat enough to do that. I think I'd have to do quite a bit of practicing with smaller pieces.
Yeah, mine is definitely not neat enough. It's not something that I enjoy.
Yeah, well, I found I was looking for tutorials to put into the cowl pattern, and I wanted to do one about Kitchener grafting, and I've just done a 3 needle bind off on mine because it's just so easy and it's neat.
It's much easier, yeah.
It's so much simpler if you then decide you're going to rip it out and do something else with the yarn later. Because very often,
yeah.
It's a really lovely yarn and you don't want the piece anymore, you'll use it again. Makes perfect sense to me. So that was good, but I found a really great tutorial by WIP Insanity, and what Kathleen's done with that is Kitchener stitch knitted graft. Ooh. So you knit the yarn through the stitch and then use the needle tip to flick it through, and then you do the next bit and just use the needle to flip the yarn through, and then you go to knit or to purl, whatever your next one is, and you can't just pulling the end of the yarn through with the needle. The needle, there's no need for a downing needle. So if you're at a soccer game knitting some socks and you want to grab a toe, you can just do it with your needles and start your next sock.
Oh,
I thought was genius.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, and was it Peggy or was it Tanya? Might be Tanya. Someone mentioned about kissing cousins. I'm not sure if it's a pattern or a method, but you knit the toe from the sock from the cuff to the toe, and then I don't know if you do a couple of extra rows, maybe you put some scrap yarn in or something, and then start again from the toe to the cuff for your other sock, so that you can just carry on knitting while you're out and you don't have to think about it, and then they do the toe grafting later. Oh,
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and it's amazing how creative knitters and crocheters are about getting around being stuck somewhere without what you need.
As my husband will say, invention is the mother of necessity, or necessity is the mother of invention. Which way round is that?
Necessity is the mother of invention.
That's the one, yeah. See? And knitters are very inventive, and crocheters, obviously.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you got planned after your cardigan?
I'm thinking it's time for another hat. I have a hat pattern coming out towards the end of the month, which is based on something that happened in a group of friends of ours, and I explained the backstory to the hat in my pattern, and it's quite a funny story, and it's called Elaine's Scottish run to do with this story. Now, I've got another hat pattern in mind, which is called Michelle's Flat Run, which also has a similar kind of funny backstory to it. So I'm thinking of a hat, a beanie hat, which I don't have many of actually. I tend to do a lot of berets, but I'm feeling a beanie.
Yeah, you've got lots of berets, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling like a beanie moment.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And you, have you got any plans for after your cowl fest?
Oh, I want to knit a cardigan for myself.
Yeah.
I've seen what I want in the shops.
Okay.
I want it in the yarn I want and the colours I want, and they haven't got what I want.
Which is why we're knitters and crocheters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want it sort of low hip length, something like that. I want some waist shaping in the back that's obviously optional if somebody doesn't need the waist shaping. Possibly a little bit of waist shaping in the front for those that want it. And I want a texture pattern of some sort. So either slip stitches or broken rib or something like that, just to add a bit of interest so that it's not, 30 inches of stockinette fest.
Yeah.
Which would be desperately boring.
I don't know. I quite like a bit of stockinette, me.
And I don't know whether to have some sort of resting rows in there somewhere. I mean, this is quite good because you've got your two slip stitch rows and then you've got two plain rows, so you're not always on and concentrating and thinking about. So I don't know whether to do something offset or whether to dig out. I've got a Barbara Walker book of mosaic patterns and play around with a mosaic design, maybe for the lower part of the body, or for ladies of my shape who don't need to underline anything.
Yeah.
Elements of pattern that low down, where they could perhaps move the patterning up so that there's a version where the patterning's on the bodice.
Yeah.
And the upper body and the upper back, where we need to add a bit of width or the appearance of width. And obviously the pattern would draw the eye up and the lower body could be plain.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, and a friend of mine is determined to nag me into designing something that's bottom up and seamed, because she's top down.
All right.
But I don't know. I mean, there are a core of ladies who are fans of people like Kim Hargreaves, and her patterns are done the old way that Rowan still does to a very great extent, where it's bottom up in pieces, seamed. And it does give you the maximum structure, and it does give you, they tend to knit things on smaller needles than the recommended for the gauge. So, if it might be a 3.5 or a 3.75 mil instead of a 4 or a 4.5.
Yeah.
But you'll find things like Rowan Cash Soft Aran doesn't pill anywhere near as much if you knit it on smaller needles, or moss stitch on tiny needles. I mean, I'd probably rather hang myself than do a whole sweater in moss stitch, but
I just couldn't. And too much ribbing as well. I can't do too much ribbing.
I think my problem with too much ribbing or too much moss stitch is at some point I lose my place and absent-mindedly have a column of ribs in the middle of a moss stitch. or have several sort of moss stitch bits in the middle of rib and have to just quickly with a crochet hook go down and
go and sort it out.
A couple of rogue stitches, or just decide to live with it, because sometimes it's really not worth it.
Exactly. Don't tell anyone. But I think once you've been knitting for so long, you do just go into, what we call custard mode in our house instead of custom mode. And your hands just do their own thing, and your brain is completely disengaged from what's going on. and that's why you end up, you just, yeah, seed stitch, moss stitch.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just not happening.
I felt with these sleeves, I mean, they're just plain stockinette. They're worked in the round. How simple can it be?
Exactly.
You're just changing the yarn every 2 rows. You've got a little
Yeah.
bit of decreasing to think about. It, you know, you could do it in your sleep. And it felt like I'd knitted for months and months, and I hadn't, because it's only a few weeks since I picked the wretched thing back up and actually finished it.
Yeah.
But mentally, I felt like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere. And then all of a sudden, it's 3 inches too long.
Yeah.
I just measured it, and it wasn't.
Exactly. I had that with this one as well, with the jumper. Just 2 more centimeters. I've got to just go round. Yeah, I'll try it again in a couple more rounds, and then, like you say, all of a sudden it's far too big. How does that happen?
I don't know. So what length is that one going to be from underarm to hem?
I'm not quite sure actually. I've knitted at the moment that's about 28 centimeters in length there.
Right.
So I want it to kind of sit on the top of my jeans, not a long cardigan, and to wear it with I have a lot of long vest tops that I like to wear poking out underneath, so that will cover my back. I can't be doing with a back getting exposed, cold backs.
No.
So I don't mind a slightly shorter jumper or cardigan because I've got my vest, but otherwise it'd be a longer jumper.
Yeah, I mean, I find with some of that sort of length, I like to wear it, but I would have to nip it in at the waist, and
This has got no waist shaping.
Not got the waist at the front that I used to have, but I certainly have the waist at the back, so I'd have to nip it in there, and give that illusion of the hourglass thing going on there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this sort of oversized trend at the moment? There seems to be a lot of really enormous sweaters.
It doesn't suit me. I'm not a fan of the big boxy. I'm a fan of the ease of knitting it. You know, it's TV knitting, isn't it? And I've said before, I'm a lazy knitter. I'm quite happy to stick Netflix or Amazon Prime or something on and just spend a whole afternoon watching TV and knitting, and literally knitting the round and round and round and round and round, and not have to think about anything. And I think those projects are probably ideal for that, but the finished item just doesn't look good on me.
No,
it's not my style.
No, I'm afraid it doesn't do anything for me either, because I haven't got enough shoulders, and I've got quite meaty arms. We'll refer to them as muscular.
Muscular, yes, I like that.
Muscular arms. And then compared to everything else, I have always had a very small waist.
Right.
Even when I was 6.5 stone, I had an 18-inch waist.
Gorgeous.
It never felt that. It always felt ridiculously small in proportion to my much broader hips. Nowadays, I appreciate what I had.
Yeah.
And if I could go back and tell the sort of 18-year-old me to suck it up, cupcake, because you actually look really good here.
They always say, don't they, youth is wasted on the young.
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah, I'm afraid boxy and stuff like that doesn't do it for me, and I know why women love it, because it's comfy and cozy, and it's like wearing a massive hug, isn't it?
And if you are just gonna wear it in the house, stick on your pajama bottoms, chuck a jumper on over the top, and relax in front of the telly, then it's ideal, I suppose. Maybe it's just for people like me, the process knitters, who just literally want something to do with their hands rather than are worried about what the finished item is. Because, I don't really know, I've not looked too closely, but some of the patterns look like they are literally just rectangles with a 3-needle bind off with an opening for your head to go through and your arms to go through, and that's it. There's nothing, no shaping to some of them.
No, there isn't. And I think once you get into the plus size range as well, everybody's body is different. They've got their weight in different places.
Yes.
And there are lots of great tutorials about bust outs and things like that. I regret to say I use them less and less these days. I don't seem to have the knockers that I had before, but there you are. No,
yeah.
I don't have
mine have disappeared.
I don't have to lug all that weight round now, so you know it's fine.
Yeah, silver lining.
But there are ways to adapt, and I think for me, drop shouldered, boxy, and all of that just makes me look a lot wider.
Yeah.
I need something that's more fitted, or the joy of negative ease. And knitting a smaller size and using the wool to stretch, because wool does that.
It does, yeah. That's the joy of wool. I find I'm really struggling since I lost weight. I can't keep up. My head still thinks that I'm one shape and one size, so I'll knit an item to what I think I am, and then I'll have the finished item and it's just huge on me. And I really just need to have a word with myself to catch up with what's happening and what I can actually wear. Because if it's too big and drapey, it makes me look a lot bigger than I am.
Yeah, maybe you need a measuring session and a spreadsheet.
Possibly, yeah. And also to actually trust myself. I think that's the problem. I've measured, but then I don't trust that that's actually what I really am. You know, my bust is just, I don't know where that's gone. It's disappeared out the window. And I have got loads of jumpers that I knitted last year and the year before. I did an ease, and I've had to give it to Caitlin as a wearing bed jumper, because I can't wear any of them out of the house. They just are huge on me. They're like dresses.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difficulty, isn't it? It's that it's almost like body dysmorphia, isn't it? Where we can't believe we are what we are. I mean, I must admit, I tend to try and size down when it comes to cardigans and sweaters, particularly if I'm doing top down, because if it fits well on the shoulder, you can get away with an awful lot.
Yeah.
If you get that right, everything else will work. And it doesn't matter if your open face cardigan is that far away from fastening.
Exactly.
If it drapes nicely and follows the curves of your figure.
It up there.
Yeah, and you depending on your shape, you might not even want a fastener or anything there.
Maybe,
to leave it open. And if you've got narrower shoulders, you don't want fastening up top. You want the fastening somewhere near the waist.
All right, okay.
The waist downwards, so that it creates that angled V that makes the shoulder look wider.
Yeah. See, I don't look good in a yoke. I've tried a couple of yoked jumpers on and they do not suit me at all. I think I'll just give that up as a bad lot. But I think that's maybe why I'm going more for cardigans, because like you say, they're more forgiving. Even if they're too big or if they're too small, if you've got a nice top on underneath, you just wear it open and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to fasten, and unless we're in a very cold climate where you definitely want it fastened. And I will confess that I've got a number. I think I made Daisy by Kim Hargreaves, and it's a short sleeve, a little cap sleeve. Worst line possible for muscular arms like mine. So I knitted it to elbow length and put a little puff on and did that. And I made the largest size, which I think is about a 43 bust, with a few modifications, a little bit more hip shaping. And then instead of having it that it would open, I sewed the button band shut.
All right, okay.
up to just underneath my bra.
Yeah.
And I have it open at the top and it's fastened lower down. and there's no gaping of the buttons or anything else because the bands are sewn shut. So it looks like a cardigan, but it's not a cardigan.
That's a good trick.
And the other thing that you can do is ribbon on the inside of your button bands to make them a lot firmer. Obviously you have to make holes for the buttons to go through and sew those neatly so that they don't fray or anything like that, buttonholes with your sewing machine or whatever. But that's quite good to stop that gaping thing.
Great tips. See? Font of all knowledge.
It's just, yeah, I think when you've got a figure that's different from what's in the shops, you just have to learn to be inventive about how can I make it work for me.
You're very good at adapting things to fit you.
And
you're always saying, oh yeah, I've added this in or I've taken that out.
Yeah, if anybody reads my project notes on Ravelry, I'm lor-artemis on Ravelry. If you check me out there, I'll you know, I've added more hip shaping, I've made wider sleeves. I might have done an M1 or an M2 at this area, but I'll have probably done XL sleeves.
Yeah.
Depending on what my bust is doing at the time, sometimes it's a bit more keen to be with us than it is at others. I think it's obviously depending on where my hormones are. Other times, you know, if I lie flat, they disappear into my armpits and have a conversation with the hair there. So sometimes I will move stitches from the back to the front.
Yeah.
And play around with it that way, or add some bust darts, or I made a sweater for my partner years ago, and he's looking at it really closely, and he went, oh, there's kind of a shape in there if you look really closely in the lower bit. What's that for? And I said, it's to cover your belly. Said it's some short row shaping so that it doesn't ride up over your belly. Well, what do you mean? And I said, well, let's measure from your shoulder down to your belly button to your natural waist, and then we'll measure to the same distance from the shoulder down the back. And there was about 4 inches difference, and you wouldn't believe me.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, that's because the back is flat and the front does this. Now, and some of us have boobage that does that. Some of us have bellies that do that. And, you know.
Yeah, I love it.
You just have to be aware that, you know, on a fluffier lady,
yes,
there will be more body length required because there's more to cover, because it
is more
out, like, you know, and then it might go out again. So there are more angles than just a straight up and down.
I love it. Short rows for the belly.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was 18 and I had fried egg boobs, it was never an issue.
Yeah. But, you know, like you say, you change over the years.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
It is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
So, what are we going to talk about next time?
Well, I hopefully we'll have some progress on my jumper to show you. So that would be good.
We should have sleeves, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should have a session on sleeves. That would be good. Talk about your sleeve issues.
Well, yeah, but they are a bit of my nemesis.
My name is Loraine, and I have a sleeve issue.
Yeah, I certainly do. I really need to work on that. But I think the other thing is, you know, we were talking about those boxy patterns where the sleeve is going to put on later. Very often they don't allow enough depth. They'll tell you to pick up so many stitches, but it's not taking into account. It might be there on your body, but if there is 14 inches for you and 8 inches for someone else, but you're both the same size of clothes, then you're gonna have to pick up more stitches and do some more shaping and think about it there. So
same reason I'm not a fan of drop shoulders either. I can see the appeal because they're probably easier than working out a raglan or a set-in, but it doesn't feel right when you're wearing it. Yeah.
Anybody watching that's old enough to remember Dynasty and Dallas?
Oh, I remember them. I'm not that young, you know.
With the shoulder pads. I mean, they were perfect for me because one of those jackets would balance out all of my hip issues.
Yeah. 1980s shoulder pads.
Yeah, so I live in hope of a return to those ridiculous shoulder pads because they were just awesome for me. But my mother, who was in her youth, was in the Edinburgh Harriers and used to run for them, and was on a swim team, you know, and used to go to the Olympic pool because she's only 4'11", bless her. And my gran figured out that if she made her do all this exercise, she would grow. I don't think so. I think she just shortened her legs with all the running and stuff. But she did all this swimming, and she used to do butterflies, so she's got enormous shoulders.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother was a great one for temperance, so Mum was made to go to Salvation Army. And you know the big wooden clubs that you swing and juggle and all of it?
Oh, yeah.
She used to
Prince
do
Philip liked them.
Yeah, so she had amazing arms and shoulders. And, you know, for all she's got broad hips, her shoulders are really still quite muscular. She's well into her 70s now, and she's still got muscular shoulders and a really strong back from all of that exercise. So the difference is she will get a jacket and take the shoulder pads out.
Because she doesn't need them.
Yeah, and I'm sort of slyly reaching over and grabbing the shoulder pad and stuffing it in a handbag to use in a sweater later.
Yeah, I'll take those for you.
Waste not, want not.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're all taught, you know, we've got to be a bit more thrifty these days, haven't we? So, yeah, fab.
I will get this. May have been posted by the time we talk again, so I will definitely bring some photographs that I will screen share.
Yes.
I will ask if I'm allowed to share a photograph of the baby. I will not promise, because obviously some parents have their kids all over social media and others don't, and I don't know what that is yet. Poor Becky's not feeling particularly well at the moment. I think she had a bit of a tough time of it. I hope to be able to show you a finished sleeve of the 2-year-old sweater from the Ravelry.
Hopefully 2 finished sleeves, not just one.
Yeah, I should have at least one sleeve finished for this.
Yeah.
Although I did debate about getting another needle and picking up the other sleeve and doing sort of 10 rows on one and 10 rows on the other, and then doing whatever the decrease is, and then going to the other sleeve and doing them sort of 2 at a time. I don't do them on the same needle 2 at a time, because when I've done that with socks, I've absent-mindedly knitted across from one to the other with this yarn. Then you haven't got 2 socks, have you? You've got trousers.
No. Yes. That could be quite interesting to try and go for a walk in those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Anybody that does sleeves 2 at a time, I salute you.
Yeah.
I take my hat off to you. It is beyond me.
Just have to try and think it. Oh no, too much concentrating.
Yeah,
definitely. Don't do it while you're watching a really good series on the telly anyway.
No. Well, hopefully you get to enjoy your prosecco soon and your lovely flowers, or you want to go in a nice...
Yeah, off to Edinburgh to do a run tonight. So not Edinburgh, Glasgow even.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to the West Coast.
Yeah, going to Glasgow. It's going to be quite wet
and blustery, so drive safe.
Yeah, I think the wind's not going to be as bad as it was last week, luckily.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'm going to need dry clothes for afterwards. So yeah, hopefully it's not as bad as they think.
Well, I hope not. But I'm looking forward to see what you do with the lace with this cardigan. I'm quite intrigued.
Oh, that's going to be some way off, I think. I think there's a lot of working out of a plain cardigan and a lot of steeking to go on first before I think about any patterns.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that'll be further on.
Yeah, It's interesting with yokes though, because you can get away with a little bit of raglan first.
Yeah, depending on your body shape again.
Almost do the hybrid thing with it and go from there. But yeah,
Not quite like the baby cardigan though.
no, not where you have to cast it off and have this sort of stepped curve. It was just unbelievable.
I won't do that.
Yeah, and I think what made it worse is you ended up with, I don't know, 14 stitches and it wanted you to pick up 17.
Oh.
Well, the only place to pick them up is in the slip stitch or the gap between one step of cast off or bind off and the next. Well, that just creates a hole or a gap.
Yeah.
Because you've got a cast off. If you'd had live stitches, you could have twisted it to do like an M1.
Yeah.
And done it that way. So I'm really puzzled as to why they wrote it like that. Whether this is something that's a sort of an update of a vintage pattern, I don't know. But I've not seen it done like that anywhere else, and I'd rather have a tooth out than knit that again. It's beautiful and it's really cute, but just make yourself a raglan cardigan and do the square.
Yeah, save yourself the headache, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
It's really cute.
Well, at least it was cute. At least it wasn't a case of I wish I'd never bothered at the end of it.
Well, yeah, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got around with it.
Cool. Well, it's time for another cup of tea, I think. Yes. Another one in my hide my rude mug. I need a fresh cup of tea. The dog will probably want to be going out in the garden. I'm sure yours will. Yes,
we'll need to stretch our legs for our midday constitutional.
Oh yes, definitely.
And I've got to pop and see one of my neighbours. He's asked for help from an MP, and of course with GDPR and all of this stuff, I've got to get him to sign a form to say that I can send something in on his behalf because he doesn't know what to say. And then I've got to get another form signed so that the MP can act on his behalf. And I'm thinking,
oh my goodness.
The whole paperwork. I mean, I can understand the logic, but, you know, it's just a lot of faff.
Time consuming, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps him and it gets stuff done in the longer term, it's great. So I guess we're going to say goodbye and
yes, and catch up again soon.
Yeah,
I'll go and finish my headband off. And I can show that. I'll model it next time. Do you reckon?
Yes, and we can show off all our needles, great and small.
Yeah.
That's fun.
All right then. So nice to see you.
See you soon, and have a great one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.